Winter 1998. I was 26 years old. It was right after the arduous march had ended. Stories of people starving to death flooded the streets, and I was just grateful to have survived. Then one day, I received a summons from the Central Committee of the party. Comrade, you are hereby assigned as Deputy Manager of the Special Materials Storage Facility. Special Materials Storage Facility. I'd never heard of it before. It was located in central Pyongyang, looking like an ordinary military compound from the outside. But the moment I stepped inside, I couldn't believe my eyes. 3 floors above ground, 2 floors below. Massive freezer warehouses stretched endlessly. Inside were Australian premium beef, Russian salmon, and Japanese rice. Deep underground, there were French wines, Swiss chocolates, and Scottish whiskies. It was a state-of-the-art facility, with precisely controlled temperature and humidity. On the 3rd floor, there were even personal storage units assigned to individual officials. That night, I sat in my quarters for a long time, staring at nothing. Just days ago, I had been surviving on corn porridge. Yet here were luxury ingredients from around the world, stacked high. Is this really my country? At first, I tried to understand. These must be for important state events or diplomatic receptions. I told myself. That's how I rationalized it. But as time passed, I began to see the truth. It was spring 2003. While organizing inventory records, I found a document. For Director Kim's family birthday party, 50 bottles of French champagne, 30 kilograms of Italian prosciutto, 20 kilograms of Japanese wagyu. It was a personal party. Not a state event, not a diplomatic reception, just a birthday party for one official's family. I slowly started examining other records, and I discovered that most of the food in this warehouse was used for personal banquets, family events, and villa parties of high-ranking officials. This isn't for the people at all. That summer, a major flood hit North Hamgyong province. Thousands lost their homes, and the food shortage became severe. I prepared relief supplies from Warehouse 7, 30 tons of rice, 20 tons of corn. But that same afternoon, another order came in. For officials' weekend villa party, 200 bottles of French wine, 100 bottles of Japanese whiskey, 100 kilograms of Australian lobster. I placed the 2 documents side by side and stared at them for a long time. On one side, people starving to death. On the other, luxury imported ingredients. In that moment, something inside me broke. In 2005, I got married. My wife was kind and innocent. We lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of Pyongyang. She knew almost nothing about my work. I just told her I managed a warehouse. In 2008, our daughter was born. She was tiny and beautiful. Holding her, I thought to myself, will this child ever know the truth? Or will she live in lies, just like me? As my daughter grew, my anguish deepened. At the warehouse, I managed billions of won worth of luxury ingredients. Then came home and told her, our homeland is great. Starting in 2013, I made a small decision. Every day before leaving work, I began copying inventory records onto a small USB drive. Personal orders from high officials, imported food prices, records of officials' banquets, total import costs for luxury ingredients, and records of relief supplies for ordinary citizens. Someday, I have to reveal this truth, but it was extremely dangerous. If discovered, not only I, but my entire family would be dragged to a political prison camp. Still, I couldn't stop. Every night, hiding the USB, I thought, this isn't just records, this is evidence of those who died. Autumn 2015. My cousin came up from my hometown. It had been a long time, and he looked terribly gaunt. Hyunsu, our youngest, has malnutrition. We can't even get to a hospital. Could you get us just a handful of rice? I couldn't say anything. My warehouse held thousands of tons of food, but I couldn't take out even a handful of rice. That night, I stayed alone in the warehouse, standing before the massive freezers, looking at the stacked imported ingredients. I cried for the first time. What am I doing? Summer 2017. My daughter entered elementary school. One day, she sang a song she'd learned at school. We are happy, thanks to our great leader. In that moment, I decided, I cannot pass these lies on to this child. I won't be a cog in this system. I decided to defect in autumn 2018. I learned that an old friend worked in freight transport to China. I carefully asked him, "Brother, could you transport people too?" He looked at me for a long time, then nodded slightly. It's dangerous, really dangerous, but yes, it's possible. December 15th, 3 a.m. Holding my wife and daughter's hands, we climbed into the cargo hold of a refrigerated truck. We hid among frozen pork. It was incredibly cold. My daughter was shivering, but we couldn't make a sound. The truck started moving. We passed the first checkpoint, then the second. But at the third checkpoint, the truck stopped. Security agents climbed aboard. The cargo door opened, and flashlight beams began moving toward us. I held my daughter tight. My wife gripped my hand hard. I thought it was over. Then the driver shouted loudly, "Comrade, this pork is for an official's banquet. Will you take responsibility for the delay?" Miraculously, the door closed. The truck started moving again. Hours later, the truck stopped completely. The cargo door opened, and cold air rushed in. "This is China. Get out quickly." My friend extended his hand. I helped my daughter down first, then my wife. Finally, I stepped down. The moment my feet touched ground, my knees buckled. I collapsed right there and wept. We're alive. We're really alive. We hid in China for a month. Through a broker, we obtained forged passports and could travel to South Korea via Thailand. January 2019. We arrived at Incheon Airport. Passing through immigration, I fell to my knees. Tears wouldn't stop. Thank you so much. Days later, I submitted the USB to the National Intelligence Service. These are 7 years of records. Import lists and costs of luxury ingredients for North Korea's elite, and relief supply records for ordinary citizens during the same period. The analysts reviewed the data and were shocked. The total cost of luxury ingredients imported over 7 years is $230 million. This amount could solve malnutrition problems across all of North Korea. My testimony was reported in the media. The UN Human Rights Council invited me, and I told them everything. Now I live in a small apartment in Seoul. My daughter goes to school, laughing with friends. No one monitors me. No one censors my words. Sometimes I open the window and look outside. People walking freely. Children laughing without restraint. And I think, in North Korea, there are still thousands like me. People who know the truth but must stay silent. People suffering daily between conscience and survival. I want to tell them, you are not alone. There is a way. Freedom can always be found. Every night, I pray that someday North Korea will change. That people there will enjoy freedom. And that no one will ever starve again. That is my final wish.